evening, everyone. Before we open the meeting, we'd like to lead with a prayer. Mark, would you lead us? Or have a prayer, would you lead us?
Let's pray together. Father, your word implores us to pray continually for those in positions of authority, that we might live quiet and peaceful lives in all godliness and holiness. You encourage us to pray for the prosperity of our city, because if it prospers, we too will prosper. And Lord, that's what we all want, for the peace and the prosperity of our city, the peace and prosperity of all of our citizens. Lord, for our teachers who are about to take summer off, we pray for a time of rest and refreshment and restoration for them in that important job that they have. For these council members who are serving tonight, we ask for wisdom and insight into every issue to come before them, for the ability really to think through and think fairly and clearly and understand what is best for everyone and our whole city. And Father, we thank you for these many first responders who are gathered here this evening. I remember a Sunday afternoon not too long ago when they saved my son's life. So Lord, I am particularly grateful for them, and I honor their sacrifice and their service and what they do for us on a daily basis. So Father, we pray your blessing on this gathering tonight, and as a believer in Jesus, I ask it in his name. Amen.
Amen.
Matthias, would you lead us in a pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item on the agenda are two public hearings. The first one is a public hearing, an ordinance to consider a conditional use permit. We'd like to officially open the public hearing. Don?
Okay, so this is for a conditional use permit for the southeast corner of Forum and 18th Street. It's required to do a conditional use permit for a church if it's on a lot greater than 1 acre in an R1 district. So this is the location, like I said, at the Forum Drive and 18th Street. 18th Street is yet to be built, but will be built with this project. And there's just a street view looking east. So this is the site plan that they have proposed. It is a 10,000 square foot building. This little shaded area is something that they proposed for a future addition. There's 2 entrances off of the proposed 18th Street with a parking lot around it. You'll notice on this it shows a 4-foot natural landscape hedge. We'll talk about this later, but during P&Z they added a condition that that be a fence. This is just a proposed building elevation of what it could look like. It has not been designed yet, but it will be very similar to this look. So the review criteria for conditional use permit is that it must be consistent with the comprehensive plan, in which this is R1. Churches are allowed in R1. Up until recently, churches were just allowed, but it was then decided that you could require a conditional use permit on lots 1 acre or more in size, just to make sure that the impacts of like a mega church could be seen by the city council. Use, scale, location are compatible with the area. Adequate utilities and facilities. Like I said, the 18th Street is not built yet, but will be built, and the other utilities are existing. They will be providing detention. It could either be on-site or a regional facility, which would be decided later during the approval process. for final building. The fourth thing is reasonable conditions to mitigate impacts. Like we talked about, they will be, P&Z recommended that they put a fence up to screen from the residential neighborhoods to the south. Impact to traffic is another review criteria. It was not required to do a traffic study because it didn't meet the required counts. Typically, churches meet on off-peak hours, so on Sundays and usually in evenings when the rest of the world is not going to work. And then relevant information received at public hearing. There were, I believe, 3 individuals that came and spoke. I'm not sure if they're here tonight and they would have a chance to speak, but the major concerns were the trees in between the properties, so that's why the P&Z recommended the fence. Traffic was a concern. I think those were the big concerns. And again, CUP is required for a church due to being on a lot greater than 1 acre in the R1 district. It should only be approved if the use is found to be scale and intensity that is compatible. And again, churches are commonly located in residential areas. Planning and zoning recommended approval 6-0 with conditions. And the conditions are as follows. Initial construction limited to 10,000 square foot in area. Like I said, on the original site plan, it showed a possible expansion. If they do that expansion, they will have to come back for amended CUP. Landscape plan must be submitted just to show those trees in the back that they're going to continue to keep the large trees. And then a 7-foot privacy fence along the development area to screen the properties to the south. Any questions?
Any questions for Dawn?
I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
First off, when is 18th Street going in?
With this project. So, and Bob Davis is here, the property owner, and he is going to speak as well.
Okay. And then on the second condition, significant expansion will require reapproval. What constitutes significant?
So in the ordinance, 5%, so 500 square foot or more.
Okay. Thank you.
I had a question that's not so much about the property itself as the knock-on effect of creating 18th Street or the extension to 18th Street, which has never existed before, but which I imagine has been very much desired as a shortcut between Forum and McCutcheon. And I'm just wondering what considerations have been given to the what that might do in terms of speeding or additional traffic hazard with this creation, and if anything would be needed along with this construction in order to mitigate those harms.
I know that 18th Street has been planned. That was before my time, so I don't know if Darren has any additional info.
I would add that the roundabouts on each end of that were really anticipated for that connection, so that was what was going to help control and slow that traffic down. But
And I apologize, I have trouble hearing in the back. Could you repeat your question?
Oh, the question was simply that, has there been any consideration given to what possible consequences there might be to creating this extension of 18th, seeing it would be a shortcut essentially between these two major thoroughfares, and if that might add a risk of speeding or other dangers on the new road?
I mean, I would say that, there's risk of speeding on any road. Having a roundabout at each end is about as good a deterrent for speeding as we have. This road's always been planned as being a collector, not a residential street, so it's always been intended to carry, more than your usual traffic. I don't know if that answers your question or not.
Sure. Will there be a sidewalk on 18th?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for
Will it be fully connected all the way through 18th, or are you guys just going to do it up to the church?
Yes, the developer is required to extend the whole.
All the way through?
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's no development yet for the latter part of going up to
Correct.
McCutcheon yet,
Yeah,
anyway.
this is just for that piece.
Got it.
I had a question. Does the site plan limit them to only having driveways on 18th Street, or could they have a driveway on Forum?
I would say that they probably could not have a driveway onto Forum. It's too close to that roundabout.
Okay, good.
Okay, before we go to the public comment, Mr. Davis, would you like to speak now, or would you like an opportunity after, in case there's some questions that people have?
I'll say a couple of words now, come back later.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Robert Davis. Address is 10371 Private Drive, 3055, Rolla. I purchased this property just as an investment. I'm not really a developer. I don't build homes or churches or anything else. I just bought it and thought its value would go up in time, but turns out I've spent money over these years. I've widened the McCutcheon Drive because Mr. Weisner put in a very nice subdivision on the east side of McCutcheon, and he had straightened his up and put in a sidewalk and curb and gutter. I thought it would look pretty hokey to the city if my side was not done, so I came down and asked Steve Hargis, who was city engineer at that time, what it would cost to get my side done, and he gave me a price, and I agreed to it and gave him the money for it. Also, I'm very much aware of the concerns of the citizens who live along the south border of this property, because water has come down off of that hill, not just on my side, but it comes down the backyards of the other sides as well. Because Steve Hargis used to live in one of those houses when they were first built. And he told me the yard flooded then. So I asked him again, what would it cost to get that remedied so that these people would not have to continue to suffer with flooding every time we had a rain? He said, I'll tell you what, if you'll pay for the cost of installation, the city will pay for the materials. So we agreed, and it was done. I've never gone over to look at it to see what they did or anything. I assumed that Steve was taking care of that. When I bought this property in October of 2011, I did not realize that the city council that was sitting where you're sitting in October of 2009 had passed an ordinance that said if you want to sell any lot off of track A or B of that McCutcheon property, then you will have to build residential road called 18th Street, and that the city would pick up the access to make it a connector level road. So I've looked at the deed. It doesn't say anything about it. I've just taken people's word, like John, who's been so good to me, that this is what it is. But I guess I wasn't smart enough when I bought it to look in the right places to see where this was recorded. Ordinance 3939. But that's why when I got a call on 2 occasions, someone wanting to buy a little bit of footage in this area where the church is wanting to purchase to expand their backyard. But I could only get a few $1,000s for that, and yet it would trigger me having to build 18th Street. So I just simply couldn't do it. When Walmart came and wanted to build, the city hall blessed it, thought it was a good idea, and we had a contract with Walmart. It was on the north side of the 18th Street, right there at the roundabout on Forum Drive. And, but the council voted it down, if I remember correctly, 10-1. So they gave me all their deposits and everything and left town. So I have just sat on it, just thinking, well, you pull the boner, Bob, this is not going to be a real good investment for you. And that happens to all of us. But the city council did allow me to sell 2.7 acres to Rolla Residential for a memory care unit there. But it had to be zoned R2. So they made an exception to the ordinance 3939 and allowed them to rezone it to R2. But then when they got to looking into it, they found out that they should go out to the end of Forum Drive and buy that place off of the old judge and build a very nice place out there. And it is nice. I've been in it and may stay in it sometime soon. But that was the right move. So that 2.7 acres is sitting there, zone R2, with nothing ever done to it. Now, the part that has been pointed out to you, the Mosaic Church, and that's my understanding, it's a Free Will Baptist Church, wanted to have a church in this location because they have a lot of their congregants that live in this area, out in that area, and that a lot of them do not have cars, and they walk to church. So we came to an agreement very quickly on a price, and I said, we do have to get a conditional use permit approved. The Planning and Zoning Commission did approve that, not without some concern from some citizens, and I understand that. But what I'm proposing to do is to take what I get from the church plus quite a bit of my savings and build 18th Street to a residential standard from McCutcheon roundabout to the Forum roundabout, and your road will be built. Now, John has told me that the city will kick in 10 to 15% or something so that it can be expanded to the width required for a connector street.
Collector Street.
Collector Street, yes, I'm sorry. So that's pretty much where we are, and I would encourage you to give serious consideration to this, because I don't know when I'll have another opportunity to build that street for you. And the prices keep going up. When Walmart was talking to me, the price quote I was given was $292,000. It is now $574,000. So the price of building a street is inflating much faster than land prices are. So that's my input. If you have any questions, please ask them.
Any questions for Mr. Davis?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Now for the general public. Is there anyone that owns property within 185 feet of this proposed CUP that would like to speak for it? Is there anyone that owns property within 185 feet of this proposed CUP that wants to speak against it?
Hello, my name is Brandy Carr, and I live at 1303 Eastwood Drive. And I was one of the people that went to the zoning meeting last week. So, most of the people that are along the south side of where this is are not happy about it. We really wanted R1, which is residential single-family houses, along our side, along our community. We're a quiet neighborhood. I know, unfortunately, we've lived that way for a long time with an empty lot. We don't want an empty lot there. We want to build residential houses. And Mr. Davis has never brought that when he bought the plans or whatever. He's never brought any residential whatsoever. It's always been commercial. And I know that, so now that the church is potentially coming in, and it can go in an R1, but it's still a business. People are still coming in and out of there. I'm concerned, really concerned. So the things that were addressed was traffic. I know that they say, oh, it's only going to be Sunday on off hours. On their website, they say through the week. That means what times are people going to be coming and going? When Walmart came in, they specifically did they brought a traffic engineer to actually count all the cars that are on the road that are already there at the roundabout on 18th and Forum, and it was already max loaded for what the road could actually handle. So it needs already upgraded, and that was several years ago. The traffic is very, very intense during certain situations. Like, I know for myself, I know they said about wanting to have people cross the road because it's close. I take my daughters to school every day. It is dangerous to cross that road. And I'm concerned. There's really only sidewalks on one side. There's no lights or stopping or anything like that for it. And you're going to increase people. It will eventually happen, whether they say that it's only on Sundays or it's in the evening. The one gentleman said that he's like, I would like for people to come at all hours of the time to help people. And I get that, I understand. But that still is going to affect that area. When you they already have like about 120 some parishioners, and they want to expand that. That's a large volume to come all of a sudden in our backyard. And it's going to be in our backyard because it's right up along the back end of our property. And the other concern that we had was water management. It is now, Mr. Davis did talk about that. He did put in some drainage. Now it's at the top, and Donna from 1315 had talked about that. There is a drainage setup that's partially on her property and partially on Mr. David's property. Okay, and she's cleaning it. She's taking care of that. Whereas the people down on the lower section, I live in the cul-de-sac at the bottom, and we still get flooding and rain and major runoff from when it rains. One good rainstorm does a lot of damage to us. We still are having issues with that. Like when it rains, our road becomes a river. And it floods down into my yard past and into the person that's down below me. It's still occurring, unfortunately. So our concern is that the property where they want to build the church is still on that hill grade. And now you want to put a church and at least 50 to 75 parking spaces. What is that going to do when it rains? Unless they have an extremely good water management system, it's going to flood. There's no way about it. It's either going to flood the road, it's either going to flood us. Water's got to go somewhere. So, and that is the big concern that we have, is that where's all this water going to go? Are they going to be able to do that? Are they going to take care of that? Is there going to be like some shortcutting because unfortunately it's a church and they don't have to follow rules and regulations of certain things? We're concerned about that. But then also the thing is that they did also say that it was only on off hours. But what about Saturdays when weddings happen or birthday parties or what other type of events they want to have? That's still going to be in the day, large volumes of people. And I don't know about you, but I've gone to weddings where there's anywhere from 100 to 400 people. How is that going to accommodate that? I know they want to expand. The building's already 10,000 square feet with the potential to expand it even more. So where are they going to expand that? And I'm guessing the parking lot's going to take even more space up. And when they clear cut those trees originally, that's what happened. Flooding happened. We had major water issues. So, and thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that owns property outside of the 180, or I'm sorry, within the 185 feet of the proposed CUP that would like to speak against it? Is there anyone that owns property outside of the 185 feet of? Before you ask your question, are you within or without?
Within.
Okay.
My name's Daryl Luchtefeld. I live at 1311 Eastwood. Would you like me to spell my name?
Yes.
Luechatefeld. It's Dareo. Yeah, right, thank you.
Thank you.
I'm not, at this moment, not for or against, but I have questions. Is that permissible at this point?
What I probably do, because I have a couple of questions to follow up too, so let me take the questions, and then at the end of the citizen comment, you bring
go
them
ahead.
up, but at the end
Oh,
of citizen comment, we'll ask the staff members all the
Okay.
questions at once.
So it's gonna go from a hedge to a fence. A hedge is sort of maintaining. A fence isn't gonna be maintained unless the church is gonna be responsible for maintaining it. And is there a offset between where the power line is and where this development will start?
What do you mean by an offset?
The last time this was brought up, there was something about a 200-yard barrier or 200-foot barrier, where that's where the fence would go.
You mean like an easement?
Easement,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, we'll get those questions answered.
Okay.
Is there anyone that owns property outside of the 185 feet of the proposed CUP that would like to speak for it? Is there any?
Do you need my name and address? Yes. Haley Story, HALEESTORY, 615 Dover Drive, Rolla, Missouri. Okay. Hello, all. My name is Haley Story Wolf, and I am here in support of Mosaic Church's permit approval. I have been attending Mosaic Church for a little over 2 years now, and it's made a profound and positive impact in my life. I lead worship, I lead discipleship groups, and I serve in a lot of other aspects. So I'm deeply ingrained in the body of the church. This church has been with me through my relapse and current treatment of cancer. This church has encouraged me and my husband in our marriage, all based and founded on the Bible. I say this to prove that I know the heart of this church, and I work closely with the leadership and hear a lot of the behind the scenes. Right now, we're meeting in a temporary space, and every Sunday we set up and tear down our entire church. We've been searching for a permanent home for a long time, and we believe that the property is the right place, not just for us, but for our community. When we meet through the week, we are meeting in church members' homes, and that is an intentional design to cultivate deep community and relationships with each other, which is why we call them community groups. Being in each other's homes is something that we see as biblical, and we truly value it to this day. Mosaic is a wonderful church with a huge heart for people, and over the years, it's made a meaningful impact in so many lives. And as a member of the church, I understand that there are concerns about traffic, and we truly desire to be respectful of that. Our goal is to work with the city and be good neighbors to everyone around us. We maintain the current property that we're at, oftentimes cleaning after their events, picking up trash in the parking lot from other events that they've had. And we clean the bathrooms and stuff. So we already have a history of caring for properties that we're in, and we continue to hope to do that and have a goal to do that with this prospective building. So all that to say, I strongly urge you all to support this permit so Mosaic can continue to make a positive impact in our community, not just for ourselves as church members, but also for those around us. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone that else that owns property outside of the 185 feet that would like to speak for?
Good evening, everybody. Thank you. Appreciate you all being here and giving us the time tonight. My name is Kyle Spizak. I live at 308 North Olive Street in Rolla. My wife and I have been in Rolla since 2019, and we came down from St. Louis to start a new life. We came down here and we didn't know a single soul. We didn't know anybody. We didn't have any family. We didn't have any friends. You look over to my left, those are my family. That's my friends. Those people have done more for me in the last year and a half that I've been with them than anybody's done in my entire life. The concerns of the people that live nearby are 100% valid, and I urge you guys to take those concerns seriously. My concern is for the hearts and souls of the people who inhabit our community. There will never be enough churches. Until everybody is saved, God's work will never cease to continue. It's the most important thing. The three most important things to me are my church, my relationship with God, my wife, and my family. Our children aren't going to have grandparents. They're not going to really have aunts, uncles, cousins, or anything like that. But you look over to my left, those are going to be the aunts, the uncles, the cousins. Those are going to be the people that helped me raise my children. And my time at Mosaic, they've helped me. They've saved my marriage. They've saved me from hardship. They've been with me in my darkest times. I can call any one of them at any time of the day, and they'll be there for me. And it has had such a profound change and impact that will last through generations. My children, their children, they're all going to feel this change. They're all going to feel what's happening here in this community. And I just pray and hope that we can extend that offer, that we can have a lasting impact, a generational impact in the lives of new members, new people that are going to walk through those doors on 18th Street in between Foreman and McCutcheon. There will be people that walk through those doors and their lives will be changed, and they'll go out into the community of Rolla and they'll continue to make that change. They'll shed that light. They'll share that light. People are going to be coming in. We do want to expand, but that's only to reach the hearts and souls of people. When I first started, no one ever asked me for a donation or for a tithe or anything. I didn't even know that there was a tithe box. So it's not your typical mega church. It's not your typical church. I had to seek leadership to find out how I could contribute. Not once have I ever heard anybody talk about money or anything like that. What they do talk about week in and week out is the heart condition, the condition of the soul, the state of man opposed to God, and how much we do need our Savior Jesus Christ. And it's an absolute need. Everybody here tonight has that need. And if they haven't realized it yet, I implore you, check out Mosaic. Come hang out with us on at the Signature Event Center. Bring a bucket because the ceiling's probably going to be leaking, and see what we're all about. I promise you, you will not regret it. It will change your lives. It is the most important thing that I've ever been a part of, and I am very excited to see that grow. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that owns property outside of the 195 feet that would like to speak for? Is there anyone that owns property outside of the 185 feet of the proposed CUP that would like to speak against?
Colin Gentry, 1208 Torrey Avenue. I'm 1,000 feet away, I checked. So not really strong opposition. I did have some questions I wanted to add to the list. I was hoping for a little clarification on what exactly the process is with that connecting road. Because it seemed like what Mr. Davis said is that approving this and selling the property is going ahead and starting the process of making the road. And is that true? And he talked about the city contributing funding to that. And is that, if you all vote to approve this, is that also then automatically approved, or is that going to be a separate vote? And then the question of the maintenance of that road, is that then covered by the city? Is that subject to the same kind of funding sharing that it sounded like there was going on? And then lastly, and I think I just don't fully understand the laws, I know last time in talking about the Stevendale rezoning, there was discussion of, this, what if the property then gets sold to someone else? We're not just rezoning for this one specific thing, we are rezoning the property for everything. And so I just wanted to ask if there's any concerns with, if the church winds up selling that property to someone else, do they then have to seek another conditional use permit, or how any of that works? And I guess I have no strong reasons for opposition other than I think I like that green space being around the neighborhood. That's not really any good reason to vote against it, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Your questions are pretty straightforward, so I won't need staff to answer them for them. The answer on the selling, your last question first, the CUP is for that specific purpose. So if the property is sold, no, a car dealer can't come in.
Okay.
It would have to then, without an additional CUP or a different one, it's going to revert back to the by right use, which is what the property is now, R1. The answer on the streets, our planning and zoning department looks 20 years out. We have such a thing as called the comprehensive plan, and we look out within the city and we look out beyond the borders of the city and look where the growth is going to come, how it's going to grow, so that a couple of things could happen. Zoning could be put in place proactively up front, or at least identified if it's outside the city limits, and so is the roads and infrastructure. Where will utilities go? So RMU is going to look out over 20 years and say, I better be prepared, I got to put a pipe and I got to put a wire in this direction. And same with the streets department. So the locations of roads like this are typically put on a map, maybe not to the precise degree, but they're put in a plan many, many years, and probably well before Mr. Davis bought the property. The policy regarding a collector. So we try to treat all developers the same. So if this is a residential property, as residential zoning, and you would put residential streets in there. If the city needs to have a collector to funnel the traffic and break it up from one pinch point, then the city routinely has over the years paid the difference between a residential street and a collector street, which is a little wider and maybe a little thicker and stuff like that. It is a city street, although the developers in all areas of development build these streets, they do refer to the city, so the city would be maintaining them. I'll get to the other gentleman's questions because I'm going to need staff help on those. Any other one that would like to speak that lives outside of 185 feet that would like to speak against? Okay, let's go back to some of those questions. So, Rodney, the question on the power line easement, where is that, I guess, where is how wide is the easement, and how will it impact the fence, the building, or anything else?
I'm not even sure how wide the easement is, but it can't be more than, I would say, 20 feet on Mr. Davis's side. And it's probably only about 5 feet or so on the Eastwood side. And so that's, and I'm not sure for serving this particular subdivision, we'd use the line that's in the backyards of the house on Eastwood. We're probably going to serve them off the front side off of the new 18th Street.
Okay. So the easement on the back is you can't put a permanent structure of any sort on that, correct?
No, but I'm not, like I said, if I recall, on the plat, it's about 20 feet wide.
Which is normal easement.
Normal size, maybe a little bit wider.
Okay. Sir, was that your question? You're good. Okay, thank you, Rodney.
Hey, Rodney, while you're up here,
The way those power lines are already in there, is there any concern about how close that would be to the street?
I think when we put those in, hopefully if we did our job right, we made sure we didn't put it in the street. It should be in the right of way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's on the edge, we should be on the edge of the right of way.
Okay, it looks like that. Just wanted to ask the question while you're up here.
Rodney, if you put a pole in the middle of a sidewalk like other places in town.
We hope we
You're
miss
gonna
it.
hear it. Darren, I need your help on these other two. So this is the first time that I've heard that Forum was at or near capacity. Is that true?
No.
Okay. So the street can handle this growth and presumably everything else on that property?
Yes, I mean, I'm not saying they couldn't do something with that property that would trigger a traffic study, but, in our ordinances, we have triggers for traffic study. I don't have my notes in front of me, but this development would not trigger a traffic study.
Okay. Could you explain the process on water management? That whoever owns that property and how they develop that site plan, what their responsibilities are in terms of water?
Yeah, sure. So the city ordinance just, to make it easy, the post runoff has got to mimic the pre-runoff. So you've got to build detention or, some sort of detention facility so that there's not increased runoff from your development. And I think Don had mentioned, you can do that with on-site detention, or, one way would be to build a regional detention, on this entire site to, take care of all the runoff from this site. That'd be up to the developer. They could either do on-site or regional.
Okay, thank you.
Hold on, before you go.
Yep.
So, since this is a collector street, is there any requirement then for drop inlets or anything like that?
Every street's got to have drop inlets.
That's what I thought. Just want to bring
What
that
did you ask?
drop inlets, a requirement on the street.
Yeah, the only difference between a collector and a normal residential street is the width and pavement thickness.
Thank you.
The last question was a privacy fence. That was a recommendation that came from P&Z. Council does not have to abide by that. Personally, I think you raised a good point. Fences look great, and 10 years later, they're not so great. But that's council's decision on what they want to handle there. Any questions for council to Dawn? If not, we'll close the public hearing and have the any other no, I asked you, I had questions. First reading, please. Does your official drawing have a fence or a hedge?
It has a hedge, because it came up during P and Z, to change it from a hedge to a fence.
So the ordinance does have a fence, if you look at the second page.
Oh, okay. An ordinance to authorize the issuance of a conditional use permit for property generally located at the southeast corner of Forum Drive and 18th Street for a church on a lot greater than 1 acre in the R1 Suburban Residential District.
The second public hearing and first reading of an ordinance. Would like to officially open a public hearing, and this is to amend Chapter 42.
Okay, so this is to amend Chapter 42, the sign section for temporary signage. As some of you may recall, during election season, there are a substantial amount of political signs that were put up that technically were not allowed. And so community development was tasked with trying to come up with some sort of effort that would allow a few more signs. But we have to remember that we can't differentiate what's on the face of a sign. So we have to try to allow some more for political signage, but remember that when it's not political season, these rules will apply to all signs, all temporary signs. So we trying to balance that. So we took it to P&Z and just had a discussion with P&Z first to kind of see what their thoughts were. We took their thoughts back and came up with an ordinance. So the current text for residential districts is the maximum height is 6 feet. Wall signs and freestanding signs are permitted. Off-premise signs are permitted up to 14 days per quarter. and up to 32 square foot total of all signs. And this means on any residential lot, no matter the size, you can have 32 square foot of signs. So we are proposing a maximum of 7 feet in height. That's basically the height that you would be able to go with safely without having to have a permit and have it engineered. So we raise that height a little bit to 7 feet. There's a new category for undeveloped residentially zoned properties larger than 5 acres. So if you have more than 5 acres, the new ordinance would apply. Freestanding, including temporary signage, and off-premise signs can be 21 days per quarter, which we also changed to commercial. This is the big change, is the number and area. So an unlimited number up to 32 square foot per 80 feet of lot frontage. So if you have 5 acres of residential property, you can have one 32 square foot sign per 80 feet of lot frontage. And each individual sign can only still be 32 square foot. The caveat to that is you can still group those signs together. So they don't have to be one per 80 foot. You can group them all together on the corner, kind of like political signs like to do. So the current text for temporary and portable signs in non-residential, this is commercial districts basically. A vacant parcel shall be permitted an unlimited number of temporary freestanding signs only, but the total sign area of such signs shall not exceed 96 square foot. So a little bit larger amount of signs. So then we've also made a new category for undeveloped non-residentially zoned properties. They can be off-premise for 21 days per quarter instead of 14. An unlimited number up to 32 square foot per 80 feet, so the same as we kind of made it match the residential, and no individual sign more than 32 square foot, so basically 8 by 4. And the signs may be grouped. So we have this picture just kind of as an example property.
Yeah, you're a couple slides behind.
Just hit exit and then F5 to do it again.
What is this always happening to me?
I don't know.
There we go. We didn't do this on purpose to use the example property of.
Go ahead, guys, you want to leave?
I'm still there now.
But this property, and this is on the north side of 18th Street, the example would be, if changed to what we're suggesting, 384 square foot of signage, which means 12 8x4 signs could be bunched up on that corner or strewn, along the whole frontage. But that's what that size property would look like with that many signs on the corner. And this is the property at 6th and Main and Rolla. This property has got 3 frontages. It would be permitted 304 square foot of signage, which is about 9 8x4 signs. And they could all be bunched up on that corner. So, in summary, the proposed text amendment is needed to make the clarifications to the city ordinances to more closely match what we want to see out in the field. This text amendment should create more fairness in administering the sign regulations for undeveloped properties. Do you have any questions for me? Oh.
Before we ask Dawn a question, I want to give a little more context, because although it was the political season that sort of started this conversation, after the McBride development south side of Rolla was approved, one of the problems with the existing sign ordinances is that's a large undeveloped property. The way that property sits with the easement from the highway, they were limited to some temporary signage, which was really too darn small for you to effectively even see it from the road. So fortunately, our Board of Adjustment made some allowances for them to have something that was more reasonable. So our existing sign ordinance is, putting aside the political season, was really not conducive to those kind of large properties, which we have. Any questions for Dawn?
And I forgot to mention, P&Z recommended approval, 6-0.
So Don, look, just so I understand, so we're not really changing the size of the signs, so they're still 4x8s. Now we can put them up 7 foot instead of the 4 foot or whatever.
It was 6 foot,
Six
so you can
before.
put,
So we-
and then you can have more. So before, for instance.
I understand the
yeah,
more, I just
yeah.
didn't know, we're not changing the size of the signs. is what I'm
Correct.
trying- Okay, thanks.
So we are increasing the posted dates to 21. And then if notice is given, they have 10 days to remove it, is that correct?
That's correct.
In a quarter.
Correct.
The ordinance specifically says no more than 14 consecutive days in any given quarter. So
red line.
can I put it up for 13 days, take it down, put it up for 13 days again?
Technically, yes.
Okay, so should it be total days then in a quarter?
Probably that would make more sense.
Okay. And then what's the rationale behind setting that you can have, instead of, so in some places you say, okay, you can have this much signage, and in other places you tie it to a formula based on frontage. Why not just do them all relative to frontage?
As far as acreage, not tying it to a specific acreage.
So, if I have a 5-acre lot but only have 40 feet of frontage, then I can only put up 16 feet of sign, right?
No, you could still put up the 32 square
Okay,
foot
so
sign.
it's
Any
32
fraction
minimum,
of
it's
it,
a
yes.
32
Yeah,
minimum.
yeah.
Okay. So it's 32 minimally up to some other fraction, so
Right,
do the
so
math to figure out
for-
what your fraction is.
Well, so if you have more than 80 feet road frontage, you can have more than one sign.
Yes.
So if it's less than 80 feet of road frontage, you can just have the one sign.
All right, so let's say I have 100 feet of frontage.
Then
All
you
right,
could
so
have
can I
two
have
signs.
It's 2 whole signs then?
Correct.
So it's in increment, it's in
Yes.
whole increments of 32?
Yes.
Okay. That isn't clearly, I was thinking, okay, well then that's 1.25 times 32 square feet, so that works out to 40 square feet of sign. That's not what
That's
this,
not the
that's not the
intent.
intent?
Correct.
Okay, so then,
Yeah.
all right, so then that, probably need to tighten that up a little bit. All right, so, and then why the difference between, some places it's 14 days and 14 days to remove. Some signs can be, there are others where it's, 21 days in a place and then 10 days to remove. Why the back and forth on how long it's allowed to be somewhere and then how long you have to take it away once you're notified?
That came from the P&Z. So if there's still any reference to 14 and 14, it should be all 21 and 10.
Okay. Because,
That-
the draft that we have here is, 14 consecutive days removal and 14 days removing notice, and then later on, there's, it says 21 and then in parentheses 10 consecutive days. And then, again, within 10 days to remove. Okay, so.
We'll
just-
clean that up.
Okay. And section, all right, so if I'm looking at 1B6, item 2, sign standards for residential zoned properties. The end of that statement, or contains permitted or non-conforming non-residential uses. What is that?
Say that again.
All right, so the statement says, sign standards for residentially zoned properties that serve as an entrance exit ways to subdivisions contains multifamily complexes or condominium complexes, or contain permitted or non-conforming non-residential uses.
So
What
that-
are conforming or permitted or non-conforming non-residential uses?
So a non-conforming would be something that existed before that zoning came to be. So it could be any use that was there before. So it's allowed to stay after that zoning district was put in. So
Okay, so it had been commercial or it had been multifamily residential and it's been zoned back to R1, and so whatever
Right.
was there before it gets to stay until it becomes
Until
something else.
Yeah, until if they want to, they can't enlarge that use, or if they get rid of that use, they can't bring it back. You would typically hear the word grandfathered is a more typical way to say that.
Okay. All right.
But we don't use that term.
We don't use that term.
I
Legal
apologize.
nonconformity. All right, I'm good, thank you.
Excuse me, I apologize in advance for my pedantry, but in section 13C, it says that freestanding signs shall be less than 7 feet in height, but elsewhere it says that they may be 7 feet in height.
We'll fix that.
Okay.
Any other questions for John? Or John? Dawn? Yes.
Whoever she is. I don't get the distinction that you're making between off-premises signs and on-premises signs. And I looked at your definitions. And, I mean, to be really frank, what brought us to the table here is political signs.
Right.
And on-premises signs is defined as a sign that contains a message relating to an individual business, profession, product, service, event, point of view, or other commercial or non-commercial activity sold, offered, or conducted on the same property. The off-premises sign doesn't have the point of view language in it. Why not just say temporary signs? Do we really care whether they're on premises or, I mean, we're really just talking about signs.
Correct. I think that was left over from before, but to your point, we really can't look at what the
We cannot.
sign says, so.
I think I would feel more comfortable if you took out the off-premises.
Okay.
We'll circle back with questions. Is there anyone from the public that would like to speak on this matter for or against? He's got more energy, Bob. He just jumped up on you.
I'll be like 3 seconds.
But you're going to get last comment.
Equaling Dr. Barron's pedantry, I did notice what looks like a typo in section 40, and this may be updated, but in the packet that was online, section 42-344, paragraph 3A. I don't have the full code, but it says 21, and then parentheses says 10 days, and so one of those is correct. That's all. I'm for it, by the way.
Mr. Davis?
One of the issues I want raised is I assume that the owner has to give permission for a sign to be placed. And on the roundabout at Farm Drive, I think my son-in-law or somebody, I shouldn't point my finger at him, we took down something like 15 signs. I'd only had people call me and ask for permission from the Catholic Church about their fish fry during Lent, and it just goes on. And then I had Megan Johnson ask me, and yet that corner gets inundated with signs. And
I'm assuming that's trespassing. Is it not, Chief? Is Chief here? No.
Yes.
Okay, so if somebody puts a sign up there and the property owner didn't give commission, it's trespassing.
Yes, sir.
And I don't mean I may be in support of what the sign says, but I'd like for them to call me and we
Not a
can
lot of
discuss.
courtesy these days.
It's courtesy. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
But it is trespassing. Any other citizen would like to speak on this issue? If not, any further council questions? If not, first reading, please.
An ordinance amending Chapter 42, Planning and Zoning, Article 3, General Provisions, Section 42-344, Signage Regulations for Residential Zoning Districts, Section 42-345, Sign Regulations for Non-Residential Zoning Districts, and Section 42-346, Temporary and Portable Signs.
Do we need to take official action to clean up some of that language, or is it just going to be done for the second reading?
I'm assuming they will come back with an amended version for y'all consideration. And so next meeting, you'd have to adopt the amendment and then second.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to acknowledgements and special presentations, we have 3. Chief Breen, you're first.
Brought a few friends, some of them had to leave. All right, well, they get situated. I'm going to start talking. So there's been a lot of PR, a lot of information about a tornado that we had here a while back. I'm sure you guys have heard about that. But what you haven't heard about is everything that happened before that, during that, and after that. So before the tornado, for about a good week and a half, the state of Missouri in our region, Region I, was inundated with natural cover fires. We had fires all over the place. Then we shifted gears and we started having a little bit of flooding and storms, and then we had a tornado. Right after the tornado, we had other issues associated with dry weather again, a lot of natural cover fires, high winds. To top that off, we had multiple structure fires, residential structure fires, commercial building, factory fire as a result of a lightning strike. And my amazing team here has been able to rise to the occasion every step of the way. Then we got into more flooding and got into water rescues. I told Mr. Butts at one time, if a storm of locusts come, I'm calling in sick. and I was serious. He laughed at me, but we've been through a lot. Since last November, our water rescue team has successfully rescued 10 people. That's 10 people that would, who knows what would have happened to them. So very proud of these guys, very proud of these crews. You can see that we have 2 guys that don't look like the others up here. You know, we brag all the time about the partnerships that we have and how we work so well together. When I get to this incident and talk about it a little bit, these guys were definitely a really good partner to have in one of these incidents. We're very lucky to have the local partners we do between law enforcement, EMS, and other fire departments in our region. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. At 8:26 p.m. on April 4th, the City of Rolla Fire and Rescue responded to a swift water rescue call. The report stated that an individual was trapped when his tractor overturned in the middle of a flooded creek in Marys County. The City of Rolla Fire and Rescue water rescue team successfully rescued the individual and his dog. There's actually a picture of that on the agenda item. That's the actual tractor. You can see the scoop hanging up there. I guess I probably should have put some slides together, but I did not. At 3:39 p.m. on April 19th, the City of Rolla Fire and Rescue responded to a swift water rescue call. The report stated that a minivan was washed off a flooded low-water crossing on County Road 6100. Further reports stated that 2 individuals were carried downstream from the van by the rushing water. The City of Rolla Fire and Rescue water rescue team, with assistance from 2 Phelps County Sheriff's deputies, successfully rescued both individuals. Like I said, the partnerships are amazing. It's amazing to be a part of this group and be able to witness how these guys work so well together. The last one I'm going to talk about, we're going to get out of the water a little bit and talk about fire. So at 12:49 p.m. on April 18th, the City of Rolla Fire and Rescue responded to a structure fire located at 405 East 10th Street. On arrival, fire crews encountered heavy fire and smoke conditions. 1 individual was trapped on the 2nd floor and was hanging out of the window. City of Rolla Fire and Rescue crews were able to make an aggressive fire attack and rescue the trapped individual from the 2nd-story window. The rescued individual was treated for minor injuries and released on scene. A shift actually worked that call. Mike had interchanged that shift with any of our teams, though. For them to be able to put together an aggressive interior attack to slow the damage, that individual was actually rescued from 2 different directions. So one, we were killing that fire and removing the hazard, and then we were able to help remove him from the hazard. So these teams did an amazing job, as they always do. They make me extremely proud and feel very fortunate to be with a group like this. Very thankful for our partners. So it is our honor to award the Valor and Exemplary Service Award for providing life-saving actions to team members Assistant Fire Chief John Marty, Captain Chris Covey, Captain Mike Buchler, Firefighter Ryan Day, Firefighter Nathaniel Hansel, Firefighter Evan Stites, Firefighter Zach Davis, and our friends who don't look quite the same as the rest of us, Deputy Zachary Rhodes and Deputy Samuel Moore. Thank you very much, guys. All right, Stephanie, you had some special direction for them, where she good?
Thank you, guys.
Turn around and look at Stephanie.
There you go.
I'm gonna duck out of the way.
Get in there, Chief. Jeffrey, get up there.
No, I'm shorter than all those guys.
That's how I made Chief.
Chief, Stephanie, get the chief in there, please. There you go.
Next special presentation is Rodney Bourne, second quarter financial results.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Rodney Bourne. I'm the General Manager of RMU. Just for the new council people, there's a city ordinance that requires that the Board of Public Works and RMU make a quarterly report and presentation basically on our financials, kind of what we're working on, future projects, and then usually I'll add some additional things in. So we're going to do our second quarterly report tonight, and then the next time I'll be back will be in mid-August, where I normally present our budget and any rate changes that we have planned, in addition to the normal report. So let's see if we can start this up. And hopefully I'll stay on cue. So again, this is a little bit more information than what's in the normal quarter report, but our quarterly report should be up on our website, available to anyone that wants to see it. But usually I'll touch on a few extra things and just highlight a few of things of what's in the report. So I'm going to talk about finances, some projects, and then again some additional things that we've talked about over the last quarter, and maybe some that are a little bit more recent than the last quarter. So this is just something that was put in the paper in 1945. Talks a little bit about the board's intent back in 1945. Basically, our mission is to provide the best possible services to the citizens of Rolla. Talks a little bit about some power issues they're having back in the day in 1945, and we're going to look for another source. That new source turned out to be Ameren in 1950, I believe. And we were with them for about 50 years. But again, talks about kind of the intent of the board, and we really stick to most of what's still was presented back then. So anyway, just kind of a thing. And I'll talk about it a little bit, but this being our 80th anniversary, kind of appropriate to highlight that. On the financials, again, I'm not going to go through all of them. If you look at the bottom middle column, you'll see a loss of $4,000. That's our net income loss at the end of this quarter. That's about in line where we thought it would be, even with some rate increases. But it is down, and it's down primarily due to higher power supply costs we're experiencing right now, and some of the tornado expenses are also in here, in part of our expense line. Talk about a few of the electric projects we have going on. We are working on, or finished a project on Aintree Road. That's off SOS, close to the radio station. And we replaced some underground primary cables that were put in the ground about, probably those houses are 70s, 80s, probably time frame. So those cables were well beyond their life. They were direct buried. So we bored new cable in there to finish that project. And then we've been spending a lot of time behind Walmart on Adrian Clemens, Hess, that area, redoing a bunch of rebuilding in that area. That's the two big projects that have been taking up quite a bit of our time on the lineman side. And then obviously I'll talk about it, but a tornado that happened for us too. On the water side, we've done a little small project on 7th Street for the brewery, for some upgrading a line there so they would have something large enough for their fire protection. And then something interesting happened in I believe it was December, January. We had a water main break on a water line. You kind of have to picture, if you travel Old St. James Road from the old Cantex plant up to the industrial park, we get right behind the Mule Trading Post in that area. We go underneath the railroad tracks and then up to the interstate, cross the interstate into the industrial park. Well, that line was put in about 1970. It was PVC. But it's a thinner wall PVC than what we use today. And overall, it's held up pretty well. But interestingly enough, we weren't really following, but if you're in Rolla long enough, you realize that if there's a hole, they'll fill it. Well, where that line went through the railroad tracks and apparently up a fairly high embankment to the south frontage road, all that's been filled in over the years. So where that water main was broke, we had never found it. We ended up digging a small canyon to put the new water main in. We never found the old one because it's been buried so deep in that hillside. But again, talking about partnerships, that's where having good partnerships with local contractors. We hired one of the local contractors, Mega Construction, to come out and actually, because of the depth of our dig, they actually excavated a very wide trench for us so we could safely install the new water main, and then they helped us bury it all back in. But that was quite an interesting project, something that we had no idea how deep that water main was, and again, we were able to get through that project without any water outages up there. With that, I'm going to move on to a few of the other items before we talk about the tornado recovery. Again, I want to mention I think the utility was purchased by the board in about October of 1945, so we're coming up on our 80th anniversary. So we've been highlighting a lot of history on our Facebook page, some of the historic documents we have. Been some really good, interesting information that we've been able to share. And I think that we're going to continue that on for, again, several more months yet. We do have a customer email incentive going on. It basically to update all of our customers' contact information. If they just have an email on file with us, that's the minimum we want to have. But we'd like them to update phone numbers. We've still got, I think, a whole lot of landlines that are still in our system that customers haven't moved and they haven't had reason to update stuff. So we'd like everyone to update. If you have your email on file with us, puts you eligible to win a $50 utility credit we're giving away every month in this year. And again, it's so we can get a hold of you if you have a high bill usage, if you have an unpaid bill that looks unusual, any planned work we have in the area. It's a way for us to reach out to our customers and get a hold of them for those types of purposes. Talk a little bit about the generators. If you read the council packet or our meeting minutes a couple months ago, you would have noticed that in the discussion was a discussion of divesting of the generators we have in town. So they're about 25 years old. We have control systems that need replacing. A lot of I won't say deferred maintenance, but just maintenance that has come due. You know, when they were first new, the first 10 years or so, we didn't have to do a whole lot to them. We've had to do more work to them. But our reliance on them as a capacity source for our power pool has gone up. And and so have the requirements by the Southwest Power Pool, which we have to meet for having capacity for our power pool available during not only summer events now, but also wintertime events. And we have to have a certain margin over our base peak load of our power pool. And these diesel units, along with others in other communities, are a key component of that reliability index. So when myself and one of our other pool members started talking about some of the maintenance issues we're having, what we're being paid to have them sit here in Rolla as a resource for the pool, the economics weren't working very well. And so our staff up in Columbia reviewed what we were getting paid for capacity credits, and in the last couple of months we've made some changes to that. It is a resource we'd like to hang on to if we can, if it makes financial sense for us. So what I said 2 months ago is kind of off the boards, and we're reviewing other options now. One of the difficulties we have, and the units like ours have, is when we first had them, and I guess for about the first 20 years, we ran them in the summer only. We never, hardly ever would run them in the wintertime because there wasn't a need for it. Well, now that's when they're being called on to run, and it's not when it's a nice winter day, it's when it's the coldest, harshest winter day. So the units in containers are very difficult to keep warm, be able to reliably start, those types of things. So one of the things we're looking at, does it make sense to upgrade them in place? Does it make sense to build a building, take them out of the containers, and while we're upgrading, retrofitting controls, just put them all in a semi quasi-conditioned building so that we can work on them easier, and also they'll be a more reliable unit. So those are some of the things that we're looking at. Again, we haven't made any decisions, but we're starting to research some options now. So for the time being, they aren't going anywhere. Finally, I want to talk about the Nagagami Pressure Zone. If you hadn't heard about this project, this is a project we're doing up on the north west side of town. I think my mouse follows here. You can see this kind of grayish line. Basically, it's Highway E and the north side of the Nagagami Road over White Columns, and kind of encompassing some of the university projects and White Columns Drive. Basically, we are doing a project there to increase the water pressures about I want to say, let's see, I look here. Increase the pressure by about 45 psi. We've got some areas in here. Two reasons. One is we've got some properties out on the northwest end of Highway E out here at extremely low water pressures, just normal water pressures, and trying to increase the pressure for fire flows as well in the area. One of the things that we recognize is that as we increase those pressures, the homeowners or property owners in the area may want to install pressure reducing valves to limit the pressure in their property lower than the system pressure. And so what the board has authorized us to do is pay up to $300 per customer for each PRV installation they do in this zone, and then and they have within 1 year of us finishing the project to get that work completed. Anyway, that's available. We believe we've sent a letter out to all the property owners, or have contacted the rental agency that's managing their properties, so we get the word out to everyone in that zone. With that, I'm going to ask if there's any questions on any of that before I talk a little bit about the tornado.
Regarding the PRV program you guys got going,
Mm-hmm.
so if a property owner has, let's say, an 8-plex and it's jawed up with 1 2-inch PRV, are you reimbursing for the 1 2-inch PRV at $300, or are you going to reimburse for
I don't know that we discussed that. I'd have to take that back to the board. It was the way it was authorized is one $300 payment.
Okay, and then so as far as because in the letter here it says up to a year to submit and reimburse the claim, is that up to a year for RMU to pay back the claim? Or what's the turn time on?
I think the return time, as soon as we have information that the work is completed, we're gonna be paying those bills.
And in a scenario like that, do you want to see the bill come from the property or homeowner versus a contractor? Does it matter?
I would prefer it be the property owner submitting those. And I think it talks. I don't know if it talks a little bit, but we want to make sure the actual work got done. So
yeah, absolutely. Followed by a city.
There's a cert. Yeah, that's right. We're doing city. There'll be a city permit, so we'll have that information.
another,
Rodney, if somebody doesn't put it in and the pressure blows out something in their home, any way they're gonna come back to RMU?
Shouldn't. I guess anything's possible. I should rephrase that. Anything's possible, but
But we've done our due diligence, and every property, well, not property owner, but every developed property over there has got a letter
yep,
that says this is happening.
right.
what are the numbers? Have you heard from them over in that area that are reaching out to you?
I don't think, I'm not aware of, we've had much communication from anyone.
I mean, it's
just yet.
still ongoing, so
Oh,
it's
yeah,
still
we
obviously-
expect the pressures to increase. It'll be sometime this fall, between August, September, October timeframe. But I don't believe we've had a lot of outreach from any of the customers in the area yet.
All right, but it's still, I mean, it's still to come because
Yes.
it's developing.
And what may force it is, once they see the pressure starting to come up in their properties, it might be the trigger to get them to do it. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the tornado. Maybe more information than you want. This was quite an event. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we did, how we went through initial assessments, how we got to the recovery that we did, and again, happy to answer any questions that you guys might have. So the tornado came through about 7:50 on a Friday night. Interestingly enough, in 2007, when we had a major ice storm in town, that was also happened started on a Friday night. And I think I've said, I think John's heard me say this, that comparing the tornado to an ice storm, I'd rather have an ice storm. But I've thought about that some more. And when we had the ice storm over the weekend, and then it warmed up. Now, if it would have had an ice storm and then got super cold, I might have a very different opinion about an ice storm. But it made our recovery easier during the ice storm. So we obviously we're hit pretty hard, the tornado, and you'll see a path, but it basically came in Southside Shoppers World, across Mark Twain, one of our substations, over the Veterans Park, hit hard in the Casey's on Highway 72, Frost Drive, Elmo Drive, all that area, past Wyman School, and tore it up pretty good in all the neighborhoods along the way, and then finally exited out past through the Forum Shopping Center and out kind of the northeast section of town. So it basically bisected our system in two, made a pretty good mess of everything. And again, initial damage, we had power lines pretty much down everywhere, trees down everywhere. Getting around was pretty tough. We had the outreach from community on Highway 72. I think we had people stopping, bringing in equipment, pushing poles, and pretty much cutting everything up in pieces. There was no salvageability of anything that came down because it pretty much got cut up, and we're just trying to clear roadways, trying to make it so people could get around. And then the next day, they really got around. They were everywhere. Traffic problems around where we were trying to work was a little bit crazy. So 8 o'clock Friday night, right after the tornado went through, the shaded area you see is we had, if you drew a line around I-44, the hospital and northwest side of town, north of the interstate, and a pretty good portion of Industrial Park, that was the only thing left on after the tornado went through. So about 8,000 of our 10,000 customers were out of power immediately after the storm at 8 o'clock Friday night. That, never seen anything like that. That was pretty devastating. Crews started working immediately. Actually, a lot of them, if you can read an article, I think, in the Focus from last weekend, we had people on standby just kind of hanging out, waiting for the storm to come through to see what would happen, and we immediately went to work. Worked a lot of that night. By the next morning, when I did my first report of the damages, we were able to restore a lot of the customers in the west side of town through the downtown area and up into the Forum area. And so you kind of see where we've made some progress, shifted the line further south. And these are some of the maps that we're using to kind of illustrate kind of where our problems were. Obviously, this is still a big problem. We're down at, this says 5,000 customers out. It's probably more like 5,500, 6,000 customers were out at this time, all in the south and east sides of town. One of the things we noticed or realized or took off right away was there was about 2,400 customers south of the impact zone where the tornado came through, because the tornado was pretty much, if you drew a line just south, northeasterly, it's just in the top of that gray area. We had a lot of customers that didn't really have any damage on their properties, that if we could get power restored to a couple substations, the 2 substations that got isolated, we could bring a lot of power back on. So that was one of our focuses, not all of our focus, but one of our big focuses was trying to get those substations re-energized to try and bring the power on there. And when we work an outage like this, and most utilities do this, we're trying to get the most customers on the fastest. That means sometimes you'll go past 1 or 2 outages to restore power to 100 or 1,000. In this case, we're trying to get 2,400 on and trying to get as quickly as we could. And again, some pictures of Saturday morning we took some of the damage. Again, I've never seen anything like it. Again, first and hopefully once in a lifetime event here in Rolla. Talk a little bit more before I talk about some other things. We had tons of food. Everyone wanting to bring food. We were trying to actually push people off. Please don't bring any more today. Because we had, and the logistics. We had ended up 8 cities came in to help us do restoration efforts. It's hotels for them, lodging for them, food for them, getting their clothes washed, because they only come with so much, and then logistics of feeding all our people. So our day, we worked nights, the first couple nights, and quickly realized we eat, go to bed, and rinse and repeat. The same thing the next day. So logistics were pretty. Not necessarily difficult, but just things we hadn't thought of, and we're trying to make sure everyone kept moving. When we deliver food out to the guys out in the field, a lot of times they just said, put it on the tailgate, we'll get to it when we can take a break, because usually they wouldn't stop to eat. They would wait for a breaking point and then eat when they could. So before I talk about what's on this drawing, so again, the tornado happened Friday night. Saturday morning, we had about 5,500 or so out. We're trying to get these 2,400 on. By Tuesday morning at 8 o'clock is when we were able to energize those 2 substations and start bringing customers on the southeast side of town. I wish we would have had a drone up when we did that, because it would have been pretty amazing to see the lights in the neighborhoods coming on as they did. Like I said, you probably could hear the cheers when that happened. It didn't make for good for the ones that were still out, but it was a significant milestone on Tuesday night on the 18th to get those on. Once we got those on, and we had been working other areas, we were able to we were down to about 2,000 customers when we got to this point Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And so that's what we're working. And then this map is basically showing what we're working on, so now that we've restored those 2,500, you can see the impact zone, because this is the hardest hit areas were these areas, all the way, again, from the southwest part of town all the way up through the Forum. And this is where we're showing kind of where we're working. As things came on, we're marking things on. Some things were off, what crews were working where. And again, we had a big wall map that we're also working off of, but this is from one of the paper maps that I was using, trying to keep track of things as they came on. So from Tuesday through Thursday, this is kind of where we were working. Then by Friday, so 1 week out, we were down to about 500-600 customers out. So that was pretty incredible progress in a week. And these, again, some of the areas that the final areas we were working on. But again, it's that Elmwood Frost was just the hardest hit and just took the longest to get restored. Lions Club and a few other mine areas. But by Friday, we were down to 500-600, and we didn't really stop working. We mainly kept full-time crews until I think the following Wednesday, and then by Friday we had pretty much on everyone. So it was about a 2-week event in total, but the last 500 took about a week to get them all on. And that's typically how it goes. You're trying to get the most customers on the fastest. Once you get them on, then you're going to start working the smaller outages, and that just everything really starts to slow down. So it took about a week to get the last 500-600 and get these areas worked out. I did mention mutual aid. These are the
communities that came in: Waynesville, St. James, West Plains, Fulton, Lebanon, Columbia, Macon, and Higginsville. Now, they weren't here all at the same time. I think initially we called 5 crews in, but then as you go through an event like this, and it'd be the same for us, is if we go to another town, sometimes you got to go home. You might have to take care of your own stuff, or when after you're working so many 12, 13, 14-hour days, you just start to wear out, and from a safety standpoint, you want to change crews out. So we were able to get some fresh crews in from a few of other communities. And that's typically also how, in a restoration event like this, from a mutual aid standpoint, is the IOUs, the investor-owned utilities like an Amber and Evergy typically help each other, use contract helps. The co-ops respond to other co-ops, and city utilities respond to other city utilities. That's generally how this works. Not all the time. We have gone on some mutual aid events to, I think, Louisiana, and we're helped co-ops down there. It's just where the need is at the time. And again, this picture of a few of our crews here. All total, and we're still assessing, about over 100 poles were down. Probably not as many roadway lights as I'm indicating here, but switches, transformers. I think our estimated losses may still be around the $3 million mark. Our service department, part of its roof was tore off in the storm, and we are still cleaning up loose ends. Just so you know, we have insurance for a lot of things. We do not have insurance for poles and transformers and wires and all that kind of thing. So everything, most of what you see in that picture, all the damage, none of that is not insurable. You just can't get insurance for it. So we are on the hook for all that. We're hoping FEMA comes through, although as I've told my board, I'm not as optimistic today about getting FEMA reimbursement as I maybe would have been 2-3 weeks ago. What we're seeing is, or what we think we're seeing is, a pullback on some of the FEMA assistance in the Carolinas from the hurricane last year. There was tornadoes in Arkansas ahead of the one that hit us. They've already been denied FEMA coverage, FEMA assistance. So we're not as optimistic we're going to get assistance for this, and that's why we have reserves. And so we do have money to cover for this event, but eventually you got to put those reserves back if that happens. So again, we'll hopefully know in the next month how that's all going to turn out. But that's what we think our loss right now is in that range. The other thing I want to point out is one other thing on damages. You couldn't go anywhere in town without getting a bottle of water tossed at you. And I think the chief would speak to that, right? How much water did you guys have? Trucks?
Pallets and trucks.
So I think one of the things when you have a disaster like that, the first assumption that's made by the people that have all the water is that the water system has gone down. Our water system never went down. It was fully available all the time. We have enough wells and that had enough substations still operational that our water system was never affected. So the drinking water system was always on. So we had abundance of water, and again, crews out in the field, they all need water too, but we had a lot of water in town. All right, the other interesting thing that we pulled this together after the fact was communications. And some of the information we put out. First of all, if you don't know, we have it's an outage reporting system called Hometown Grid available on our website. You can text or call the 800 number, 888 number to report an outage. That has been working really well. I'm glad we had it in place for this. So we received over 1,600 texts, almost 600 calls into that system to report outages throughout the event. I think on Monday, John and I were on KTTR. Eventually, I was on KTTR almost every morning with the morning mayors. And then shortly, I think by Wednesday, I was up. As soon as I finished in the morning mayors, I'd go over to walk across the hall, go to KZNN, and give them a status report there as well. We had 8,700 views of the website map, the outage map that's out on our site. We did 87 Facebook posts. We did one Facebook Live event in the KZNN studios. We're also trying to get that information out on our website as well for people that don't have Facebook. But what's really, I think, is statistically interesting is I think we have about 6,000 followers on our Facebook page or something like that.
We had 2 million views of the 87 posts we put out there. We had over 2 million views on those posts. I think one was well over, well, it has there, the most viewed one was over 100,000 times. So it wasn't just people in Rolla looking to see what's going on. This was a nationwide, maybe worldwide event of people checking in to see what was going on in town, where we're at with outage restoration. So pretty amazing stuff. So and with that, I'll take any questions that you guys have.
Any questions for Rodney?
I'd like to thank, you guys for everything you did. You restored power faster than I'd ever seen, utilities that are, twice the size of yours. I had utilities, I was blessed to be part of the Clemens, and the new poles are, they're Sherman tanks.
Yeah, in comparison, yeah.
Yeah, and you guys had power restored, I believe, 3 hours, 48 minutes to our neighborhood.
Yeah, you would have been one in that.
And I had
that Friday
everybody
night.
and their brother showering at my house.
Yeah, that's right.
Everybody, I had, it was Grand Central.
Yep. And
So.
thank you. It was, and like I said, beyond the cities, the other cities that came in, from our standpoint, when you have an event like this, this is not just a lineman event. This is all hands on deck event. So, water crew, our arborists, everyone in the office, top to bottom. If you had a heartbeat and you were in a pulse, you were working, doing something continuously in those hours. I think a lot of us, our day would start before 6, before crews got there, and we were there after the crews left, trying to make our plans for the next day. So, and that's top to bottom, everyone helping out, cleaning up debris that's out in the field. There's just so many things that we were doing, and using our additional staff, the water crews, and like I said, all our laborers and all those people they're all doing something. There wasn't a lot of sitting around. So, all right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you
so much, Roger.
Thank you.
The other thing I'll say, again, for the new council people, if you are planning a ward meeting, or you know of any event that wants us to come talk about, whether it's a tornado or any issue that might be on your constituents' mind, let us know. We're happy to do that anytime.
Thank you, Rob.
Third presentation is Lana Sowers, speaking on behalf of the Rolla Downtown Business Association, and I'm sure you'll find this exciting. Rachel, you're going to join her.
She's giving me moral support in case things get out of control.
All the fire department, sheriff's department love.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alana Sowers with the Rolla Downtown Business Association. Do you need my address?
No,
Yes. I do come here quite a bit for some of the people who have been here before, but for the new people, I thought we would explain a little bit about what Rolla Downtown Business Association is and does. You'll also hear it referred to as the acronym RDBA. So you have it on your screens? Perfect. And what do I hit? This?
just the arrow. The arrow.
There's an arrow here? No.
No?
No? I'll do that one. So the Rolla Downtown will be a vibrant, friendly, attractive, and safe destination known for its diversity and unique character. That is a statement that has been developed over lots of studies and lots of input, and we'll explain that shortly. Oh, and by the way, I've heard I have an hour and 37 minutes, so I hope to get done in that
You got it,
time.
7 minutes and 39 seconds left.
It's supposed to be nice.
That was my nice side.
You'll find that we all work together a lot, and so sometimes it's like a dysfunctional family, but we do get things done. RDBA is a 501c6 not-for-profit organization, and we're completely fueled by volunteers. No one gets paid. The reason we're a 501c6 is when our attorney set it up, it was explained because we're membership-driven, like a chamber. You must be a 501c6. Our membership fees are 0 because we're representing small mom-and-pop organizations. These are our officers, also our board members. And RDBA has been a very long time member of Missouri Main Street. You all have heard about Main Street maybe. We've been members for many years. We've attended many of their meetings. We have walked ourselves through the Main Street program, mostly because, you'll see it in a minute, our consultants walked us through lots of those steps. And Main Street focuses on revitalization, economic growth, preservation, community building, support, and empowerment. I'll explain that.
Lana, just real quick, is that similar to like the Main Street USA program?
It is the same. It's
Okay.
just there's a Missouri one and a national one.
All right, thank you, appreciate that.
All the steps are the same. So, a brief history. About 20-some years ago, when I was 13, the city of Rolla hired a company out of Boulder, Colorado. You all paid for it. Well, our city did. And it was a consulting firm, Winter and Company, and they came in to study our downtown and produce a strategic plan. One of the interesting things was they flew into Lambert, they drove to Rolla, they came out by Steak and Shake, and they came around the north end of Bishop, Pine Street, and couldn't find downtown. We have no signs. What they did do is look up, Phelps County Bank has that sign on top. That's how they found us. That's how a lot of people probably find us, but there's good news coming. And now the belated Senator Kit Bond sent someone to me to say, we have $250,000 that was not used on another project. Could you use it for your revitalization effort? I said, let me see. Yes. Could you write a letter in the next 10 days? I can write a letter right now. I think it was Larry Gregg that came. Hold on, I'll write it right now. That funding, we coupled, John worked on this as well, we coupled it with other grants. That became $750,000. So, that funding, oh, it's moving without me. Do I go back? Lori. Oh, wait, I got it. I don't know how. The funding facilitated the creation of the downtown festival lots. If you don't know where those are, we'd be happy to show you because Summerfest is coming up and that's where everything happens. New lighting, which we have now found that is really not lighting enough. Tree planting, the band shell, the benches, and throughout downtown, flower planters, trash receptacles. The Frisco caboose, which we got out of Lebanon, Missouri. There's the band shell. I'm pushing, nothing's going. Can I go back? It's moving on. Oh, mine's delayed. There's the band shell, you all see that. So let's talk about downtown revitalization efforts. There's the caboose, you all have seen that. The plan for that caboose was to turn it into a museum. We had a city worker who was very involved in Frisco, so that's a project. If anyone wants to take it up, we're happy to have you. We've had benches and trees. I'll keep moving through this. If you haven't seen them, you will. Then we had a second extensive study and strategic plan. It was led by Merrimack Regional Planning Commission, and it confirmed the organization's direction, their goals that we set forward. And one of the things I don't have in here that we did learn in the very first study from Winter and Associates was we didn't have people living downtown. And like, duh, you know, back in the 50s, everybody, or 40s, before my time, everyone lived downtown. You had apartments, you lived above your shop. And then, you know, everybody started moving out to subdivisions, and in my case, in my hometown, there was lots of malls, strip malls, and then they became indoor malls and all of that. So we did learn from that, and I understand now we have well over 450 people living in the downtown. That's not just students. That's students, it's young professionals, it's traveling nurses and other health care people that come in for a short time and need a place to stay. So the second study was done, and then the city was named a dream community in 2009. DREAM stands for Downtown Revitalization and Economic Assistance for Missouri. It's a partnership with Department of Economic Development, Missouri Development Finance Board, and Missouri Housing Development. That award was a 5-year in-depth study resulting in a third strategic plan for downtown. If you ever want to see it, it's very large. It's in Don's office or John's office. Architects work on it, and they have to have big paper. So you need a lot of room to look at it. Every building was studied, traffic studies, everything. The DREAM initiative, as did other studies, incorporated feedback from many sources. This happened over and over, not only this plan, but the others. People were asked, the area residents were surveyed, Missouri S&T students, faculty, staff, downtown property owners and businesses, multiple focus groups, and visitor surveys were taken and submitted. The revitalization efforts with DREAM, the boundaries were established of what is downtown. Department of Economic Development were very specific on what could be in the downtown borders and what could not. So 2 developments happened. The business district, which is the Pine Street, and the, I'll show you a map here in a minute, is the business district, and then we developed the arts and entertainment district across the railroad tracks. So where is downtown? If you can see this, west they determined to Main Street, north to 12th, south to 4th, that's beyond 6th, and east to Walnut. That's on the street east of Benton Square. Recurring priorities. They're still recurring. Address all 3 main entrances to downtown. That'd be good so people can find us. Obtain a better mix of retail, including those needed for students, senior populations, niche specialty shops, convenience, restaurants. We now have 9 restaurants. We have more coming in. Improve and increase downtown appearance and activities, especially nighttime. That's ongoing, and yes, we did. We didn't. When you came downtown, you had Chub and Joe's. You could eat at breakfast and maybe lunch, and Alex's. That was it. Increase and improve downtown marketing efforts. We have a marketing committee that works on it constantly in terms of social media and so forth. Address downtown parking issues. I love the fact that we have parking problems. People hate me for that, I'm sure, but every time parking comes up, and it comes up a lot, if we didn't have a problem with parking, it means that there's plenty of places to park because nobody's coming downtown. You've seen the communities that have died. Their downtown has just died. They have empty buildings. There's plenty of places to park. So we put in 2 84-space parking lots, which we'll see here in a second. The next goal was strengthen the Downtown Business Association. We have been doing that. Address empty, rundown buildings. There are still some. And downtowns are very different than a lot of other business communities, and I've been in a shopping center community with a business, because they come and go. Again, they're small mom and pops. I was a consultant for many years with small businesses, and most of them are undercapitalized. So they come, they go, and they also find out it's a 24/7 job. Address lighting issues. Here are the 2 84-space parking lots we did put in with a $350,000 community block grant. One's over by Episcopal Church, kind of catty corner, and the other one is just across the railroad tracks. We are event-driven. We have been told this by all the consultants. We are event-driven. We bring people downtown. They have to have a reason to come downtown, so we have events. The first one's coming up right away. It's our 31st year for the Summerfest, Route 66. It'll get even bigger next year with the anniversary coming up. I'm going to fly through these, maybe. I'm pressing. Nothing's happening. Downtown dishes and drinks went flying by there. That was just basically, it's like a pub crawl, but we feature our restaurants. Arts and, I'm not even touching it. Arts and entertainment, arts and crafts festival. I don't know what's going on. This thing has its, hello.
If you're doing a lot of clicking, it's gonna, there's a delay or something.
Patient?
Yeah.
Oh. Arts and crafts festivals. We have one in April. We just had a tremendously successful spring event with 85, I think it was, vendors. And our October one is much more successful even so. People are already signing up. Boo-Palooza, it's at Halloween. People say, when is it going to be? It's going to be on Halloween. People say, what's the date? Well, almost every year, like Christmas is on the 25th of December, Halloween is usually October 31st. This year it will be down in the festival lots. See the people? We bring people downtown. Our job is to bring them downtown and the businesses can figure out what to do with them. I have a lot of ideas. We do a shop downtown Rolla for Christmas promotion where people get a punch card and as they're spending money, they can get a punch. They get 5 punches on the card. They turn it in to win one of two $250 in downtown dollars, which they can spend downtown. See how that keeps that money downtown. Generates over $50,000 in market and in money that we can actually track. We have a lot of partnerships. We brought the farmers market downtown. Celebration of Nations, we partner with them. It's not our event, but it's downtown and it's 80, 90 countries are represented. We do a pizza party at Rolla Middle School for the coloring contest winners of each homeroom. This is what it looks like. Moving on, maybe. Oh, you have a video. I don't have a video. I love this system. We also help with our sister city, first is Licht or Not. That's on Friday night before the Christmas parade. And it's the lighting of the community tree. We'd love to have you come. It's become a huge festival with children singing and the parents there. And then they have a nice event down by Public House, or this year it was in festival lots. And then we have the Christkindl Mart that follows the Christmas parade, which is the first Saturday in December. Here are more events we have downtown. And now I want to show you the fountain. 1910 to 1925, there was a fountain. That's a picture of it. The building on the right is where Speakeasy was. It's still there. We have had in our plan for many, many years, over 20 years, to replace the fountain. All of our studies have shown that people want to have that piece down there. It's a nice southern entrance of downtown. I really fought against putting that exact fountain in. It was kind of ugly. We actually, in the newspaper business, we had a picture of a man drinking out of one side of the fountain and a horse drinking out of the other side. Now, I don't know if that was his horse. We don't know that, but we did a couple of history books in the newspaper business, and it was a fountain. If we get the money to do this fountain, it will be lighted. We will have events down there. You see the Rolla letters. People can have their pictures taken in front of it. Those letters are adoptable, and we already have some organizations interested in adopting each letter. It's not just a fountain. It is a historic plaza. I'll explain that shortly. These are all the pieces of the plaza. There will be lots of lighting. There will be 4 history panels in the back. They will be lighted. And each panel will have a salute to something that is significant to Rolla, Missouri. So one of them is Rolla, how we got our name. The other one is the Civil War. The other one is MSN to UMR to Missouri S&T. and the other one is the railroads and the mother road, Route 66, because Pine Street is Route 66. They will be lighted. They will be informational panels. These are the 6 historians that have been working on this. They have worked together remotely and had a great time. You would think there was a party going on. They're all very well known. Our upper right, John Bradbury, has since passed away, but as you can see, these guys, you've probably heard of them. They've written several books and so forth. This is what it looks like now. We can really only go up. So, Bank of Missouri, who is not located downtown, called me and asked if they could donate $10,000. I said, let me think. Oh, yes, we could take that. So, they specifically want it for the fountain. I mean, they made sure that that was earmarked, right, John?
Mm-hmm.
Now, we are a 501c6, as I said, and we could have received the money, but we couldn't issue tax credits. So we went ahead and formed a 501c3 through Merrimack Regional Planning Foundation so that we can issue tax credits. We know that this project moving along, the Fountain Plaza, people are already calling us wanting to do a salute to their family. There will be more panels available where someone from Herman Lumber, Powell Lumber, people who contributed to the downtown in a significant way. Businesses, names, could be the Sowers family. So there will be panels where they can actually have something for their family. That's what the panels kind of look like. Those will be some sort of metal. Evidently there's a lot of options here besides bronze, but it'll be somewhat like that. And that's it. I got through it in an hour and 37 minutes. Good question.
Lana, Rachel, you know, those events, sometimes we forget how many we have, and then you can pictorially see them today and really appreciate, but they have a couple things in common. One, they're well-attended and very much liked by the citizens. The other one is the tremendous amount of work that goes into every one of those events by a group of volunteers. So on behalf of the community, thank you very much for what you two do and the others with our DPAs do as well. Any questions?
By the way, Rachel Guth is our vice president. She is an amazing person, just because she's standing here. Did you have a question?
I did. What's the time frame on Fountain? On getting
All we
it?
need is money.
How much?
Well,
Not that I'm going to write a check. I'm just asking for the community.
well, we would take it,
No.
and we could issue a tax credit. Well, here's what we did. The Fountain Plaza was somewhere around 200,000, the whole plaza. We're gonna do landscaping. Obviously, we have to get a fence up so children don't run up there and get hit by the train, you know, little things like that. But we've added to the whole package, because we've had this in our plan, is to do a whole revitalization piece all the way up to 12th. With infrastructure, we have a lot of dated infrastructure downtown. We'll add more lighting, streetscape, landscaping. As you see, it's been a long time since we've had that money. So we have the map, we have the car, we just need the gas. So we're looking at some options for funding. We've done a lot of different ways to fund things, so we're working on that right now. So, yeah. Questions? Thank you all. Hopefully that was 8 minutes.
Can I just share something real quick about our downtown events? So we try our best to make them as free as possible. As you know, Bootpalooza is completely free. Well, this year we are able to make Summerfest a mostly free event also, if you have not heard that. So we've worked on some partnerships and grants, and that's going to be a completely free event this year. And we've also, with grant money, we'll bring in a piece that's going to be available. It's a Route 66 photo op piece that hopefully in a couple of years, as future plans go, it'll have a place to be planted. So
Great.
that's a whole big part of the bigger picture.
So Friday night is Movie Under the Stars with Paddington Bear, and Saturday is always a free concert, and It's every other Sunday.
Yep.
And if you ever go, you'll see kids in their pajamas laying out on the blankets listening or whatever, and elderly people like me in the bag chairs, all ages, and having anything free for the community to us is important.
You guys have an incredible group. I get to do a lot of different things with you guys, but the group of volunteers you bring in for an event like that and so many other events are.
We bribe them.
Yeah, you do a great job. It's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to old business, we've got 3 items. The first is to, an ordinance to authorize an agreement with HDR for management. Darren?
So we've talked about this at a few meetings, so I'll go pretty quick. So the City of Rolla developed an integrated management plan several years ago. We're due for an update. Staff did select HDR Engineering based on qualifications. So tonight we're requesting the final reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter the contract with HDR for $64,700. With that, I'll take any questions.
Darren, do we have a sense of what it's going to tell us in advance? Just so we can prepare.
Sure. So, I mean, we look out, 15, 20 years, as a planning document, but the thing that's going to look at is regulatory drivers, what new permit limits are we going to have and what upgrades we're going to have to make to plants and when. And it will have, lay out some estimated cost with those, so.
Any questions for Darren? If not, can we have the final reading?
An ordinance authorizing the mayor of the city of Rolla, Missouri, to execute on behalf of the city of Rolla, Missouri, a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and HDR Engineering, Inc. for integrated management plan updating.
Jackson will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
McNevin,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Han,
Yes.
Pace,
Yes.
Dickens,
Yes.
Roloffs,
Yes.
Greven,
Yes.
Balch,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Shelby,
Yes.
11 ayes.
Ordinance is approved. Next item is an ordinance to enter an agreement with Donald Magai for Soast Road improvements.
So we opened bids for project 570. We received 3 bids. At the last council meeting, council did award the bid to the low bidder, Donald Magai Incorporated, for $245,092.25. This is a grant project, so we'd be reimbursed 78.6% of the cost of this project. So we are recommending the final reading of the ordinance authorizing the mayor to end the contract with Donald Magai for $245,092.25. Any questions?
Any questions for Darren? If not, final reading, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and Donald Magai, Inc.
Jackson will make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further discussion? Not roll call vote, please.
Han,
Yes.
McNevin,
Yes.
Balch,
Yes.
Penner,
Yes.
Shelby,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Barrett,
Yes.
Pace,
Yes.
Dickens,
Yes.
Roloffs,
Yes.
Greven,
Yes.
11 ayes.
Ordinance is approved. Last item under old business is consideration of fluoride in water in Rolla's water system. John?
Thanks, Mayor. We had talked about this in late 2024. It really came out of an article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch dealing with a court ruling in California, and that, I think, encouraged a couple of the council members at the time to revisit the issue. And it had last come up probably 10, 12 years earlier, driven by a citizen issue at the time. When the council took it under consideration, they then reached out to some of the local professionals, the dental community, as well as some of the advocates from the Fluoride Action Network, which are critics of fluoridation and nationwide organization trying to have it removed, at least some of the restrictions or requirements on there. We did some testimony. I'm going to guess we had a half dozen or so dentists and professionals from the state speaking on behalf of fluoridation. And then they brought in a couple of folks, and they participated remotely, again, in opposition to fluoridation. After that, we thought it might end, but the council then decided to pursue at least the consideration of removal or reducing of that volume. It wasn't a decision at that time, but it was clear indication that they were willing to sort of look at this a little bit more thoroughly. Well, reaching out to the state of Missouri triggered a requirement under RSMO 640-136 that requires any city that's considering changing, whether that's adding, taking out, or reducing the volume of fluoridation, requires a 90-day notification period to the community, as well as notices to DNR and DHSS. So we worked with RMU, we prepared a notification plan, and it was extensive. It was a suggestion from DNR and DHSS how to do that. We did the websites, we did Phelps County Focus, we did social media postings, and we had those recurring in 30-minute increments. All of that was really intended to drive traffic to a new email address we had opened up at fluoride@rollacity.org, so that council could sort of take in all of this information rather than you all getting, individual calls and emails. I'm sure much of what did occur for you, but we want at least a source that we could compile that. We issued in the council packet that you see before you, where we had about 110 responses, and then knowing this was coming up tonight, we received another 45 responses. So all told, we've got 157 responses by email in support of fluoridation, 7 responses in opposition to fluoridation. That's a 95% support. And we know that that is not an accurate vote of the citizens, but it was the mechanism we used to encourage people to reach out on both sides of the issue. We also we didn't ask people to state where they're from, but we were able to track by the email addresses, at least the vast majority. We think about 75% of these are clearly from citizens of Rolla. In fact, many of them from wards that are clearly represented across all 6 wards in Rolla. A number of them from Phelps County. There were 25% that we simply just didn't know. They didn't indicate in their email addresses or in their email where they were from, although as I look at that name, I recognize more of these names, and I suspect some of you recognize some of those names that were either listed as being unknown or from outside of Phelps County. You could tell the few that seemed to come in from really almost across the country that were sort of taking a very political position one side or the other because they provided a lot of very specific data. But many of these were really well thought out, individualized, customized email responses. And we've copied those, at least that what we had through Thursday by email we sent to the city council, but we're up to 40 pages of compiled email responses. Again, reflective in the tabulated table that you have before you. So with that, we've been asked to bring this back to city council for some direction, and be happy to answer any questions. There's a lot of information in the packets for you.
I move to postpone indefinitely.
Barron seconds.
No further action, option 1.
Startled me with your quickness.
So who was the second on?
Yeah, okay, let's get
There was
that.
a lot.
What was your,
Move to postpone indefinitely.
somewhere over here was, and what was yours?
I second.
Second, and
I just pointed
Comment.
out on this sheet, it's option 1, no further action, a motion to postpone indefinitely.
okay, there's a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
I have a petition with 124 signatures of residents from Ward 6 who support not taking fluoride out of the water. I'd like to submit that for the record, please.
Okay. Duly noted. Yeah, I was gonna say, any further discussion?
Well, just further discussion, I'm disappointed by the lack of community input on the email. I had hoped to see more of those who wanted to remove fluoride respond to that, and that's concerning and disappointing. So there's no, I'm not calling any action or anything. It's discouraging.
Well, if there's no further discussion, there's a motion on the floor in a second. We'll do by hand. So all in favor of the motion, raise your hand and signify aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record show 1 nay. Moving on to new business. First item is an ordinance to enter into an agreement with Donald Magi. Darren?
So at the last council meeting, City Council awarded the bid for Project 600 to Donald Magi for $139,050. So tonight, in your package, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter the contract with Donald Magi for the same. Is there any questions?
Any questions for Darren? First reading, please.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a certain agreement between the city of Rolla, Missouri and Donald Magi, Inc.
Next item is a resolution, or consider a resolution demonstrating Rolla's commitment to public safety.
Yeah, I'll introduce this, and then Chief, feel free to jump in on this, but we had seen this first posted, I'm going to say maybe 4 months ago, when Governor Keogh's office, when he assumed office, announced this initiative called the Missouri Blue Shield Program. He has since named the first 15 communities that were able to file an application to the state, to the governor's office, for this recognition. We were still at that point trying to figure out what are the requirements and the conditions of doing that. Now they've really rolled this out and made it really clear. It's a pretty straightforward program. For a department that wasn't accredited or was not as well-run as Rolla PD, some of these would be real challenges. But going through the accreditation process, Chief, we got that designation a year ago, 2 years ago, required us to update virtually every policy that we have within our system. And so as I started looking through, or as we started looking through these program requirements, between the body cameras, between the restructuring of pet compensation for public safety, VIPs, our new drug task force called RAID, all in a look back over a 5-year period of time, we were just checking off boxes after boxes of the compliance. And the last thing we were concerned about is there's an annual filing if we are so designated, but we've even checked with the governor's office, and at this point, they don't even have a document for the reporting of our activities, but their response was it's going to be a pretty straightforward, simple designation. The governor was hoping to have some grant funds budgeted in this budget that would be allowed for a credit for communities that receive this designation. I don't think that made it through the Missouri legislature this year. So while that's a nice carrot in future years, I don't know that that's something we should be pursuing because of the opportunity for grant dollars. We'll wait and see how that develops over time. Nevertheless, I think it's really important that Rolla reflected support of not just police, but fire, EMS, dispatcher services, and this is just a really great program. So in order for us to make the application, which is due by the end of this month, actually I think it's due, I can't remember, it's June 1st, yeah, June 1. Tonight was the last night that we had to take action. And so there is, for your consideration, a resolution that we're proposing council to take up. And be happy to answer any questions. And again, the Chief would be happy to talk a little bit about this as well.
Any questions for John or Chief? If not, can we read the resolution?
A resolution in support of the City of Rolla Police Department in pursuit of the Missouri Governor's Blue Shield Program.
Jackson will make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Claims and/or fiscal transactions. We have one request for a resolution authorizing the application for TAP grant.
So earlier tonight, we did the final reading on the TAP grant project. These take a few years to get put together, but there is another round of grant funding coming out. We would like to apply for some more TAP grant funding to replace some handicap ramps. If you look at your packet, there's a map showing the ramps we propose to replace. The cost of the project is estimated at $320,000, of which we would get 80% match. We'd be out 20%, $64,000. Again, these are projects that we have to do whether we get grant money or not, but anytime we get a chance to get a grant, we try to get grant money to help. So we're asking for a resolution to apply for this grant funding.
So for new council's benefit, this requirement came many, many years ago now. And both Darren and his predecessor have done an outstanding job by having the credibility and the wherewithal each year to be doing some of these things. So what could have been a big swoop and have to spend a whole lot of money in a very short period of time, they've been able to implement it over time and break the cost down. But Darren, if you had a guess, and I don't remember how many sidewalks it was a phenomenal number, but by the time we're all done, how much do you think it's going to cost to do those? Several million?
Oh, yeah, several million.
Yeah.
You
So
know.
this works out to, I don't know, $4,500 or so per sidewalk.
So, I mean, in your packet in the map, right now we have 1,401 ramps in town, either through contractors or city staff. We replaced 855. We've got approximately 546 to go.
Darren, just to be clear, that 60-some thousand is already in the budget if,
It would not be, it would be part of the next year's, budget process to add that money.
okay.
And this isn't a guarantee, but we've had such a
Yes.
good pattern and success with them. We're confident of that. So if it is approved, we'll come back with a grant agreement that you would authorize to actually execute the grant itself.
So this is just to give them permission to apply for the grant?
Yes.
And it's one of the requirements of the grant. We have to have a resolution from city council to apply.
Read the resolution.
Yes, sir. A resolution authorizing the submittal of an application to the Missouri Department of Transportation for the 2025 Transportation Alternatives Program.
Move to accept?
Jackson will second.
Motion made and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Citizen communications. Any citizen that would like to speak to city council?
You've used all your turns, Colin.
Hello, Colin Gentry. I still am at 1208 Torrey. I wanted to ask, so Councilman Churban just posted on Facebook earlier today. He said, I'm unable to be present at the city council meeting, but was set up to connect in, but they were unable to get me connected in for tonight's meeting. And I'm wondering if we have any more information about that.
No.
I can also ask him. I don't know what he meant. I don't know if, because I know during COVID, counselors could Zoom in. I don't know if that's still a thing.
It was, and we tried it today. We worked with our managed service provider. We couldn't get the audio going. So they're coming out tomorrow, and we hope to have it fixed.
We try to do it, but that's not the ideal way to do business.
Okay. Okay.
But there's no nefarious reason.
Okay. No, I believe it. Okay. Thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up is I know that the Blue Shield thing that you just approved seems like our fine program. I totally support Rolla's police, and I think that they do good work. I know that the grant scheme is still kind of nebulous, but I would advise or hope the city, use discretion about what kind of grants we go for, especially when it comes to equipment. We don't need tanks and tactical gear for our police. We need grants that will actually go towards continuing the good work that we do. And that's all. So goodbye.
Thanks. Thanks, Colin.
Thank you. Thanks, Colin.
Any other citizen communication? If not, mayor and or city council comments, there's 3 listed here. The first one, motion to appoint John Jamison to planning and zoning. John called me today and asked me to withdraw his name from the appointment based upon, I would say action, or maybe a better way of saying is inaction at the last council meeting. Second one on the list is to appoint Reverend Joel Kidwell to the library board for a 2-year term.
Is it open for a motion, you're saying?
Mhm.
I make a motion?
Second.
Motion made in second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Third one is a motion to appoint Bruce Wilson also to the library board for a 2-year term.
I move to accept Bruce.
I second.
Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Any other council comments? Comments for the good of the order. The next meeting date is Monday, June 2nd. We have a Public Works open house on the 22nd of May from 4 to 6 at the Eugene Northern Center. Darren, want to give some highlights as to entice people to come to that? Free coffee, donuts?
Well, I was hoping Rodney was still here. They normally do a giveaway for a credit on your utility bill if you'll show up. So I'm assuming they're doing that again this year. So show up and sign up, and there's a chance you'll win a credit on your utility bill. One of the big things we'll have there this year is the consultant that council hired to do the wayfinding signage for the kind of downtown area is going to be there with some concept drawings. So hoping people come show up and give us some input on those. We'll have all of our street overlays, we've got planned for the next few years. We'll have maps. Encourage everybody to come out and see what's going on. So parks will be there too. Parks will be showing, possible Prop P projects. Floyd, is there anything else you want to say?
The other thing I'd add is it's just a drop-in, so don't think it's a 2-hour meeting. If you would pop in for 10, 15 minutes, any time between 4 and 6, you'll be able to see the working boards and talk with the staff. So encourage folks to come out and just stay attuned to what we're trying to get done in Rolla.
Last item is upcoming Summerfest, which gets bigger and greater every year. Darren, you have any comments on that?
Just that it's a normal Summerfest, normal closures in your packet. Was kind of a list of the street and parking lot closures for that event, and lots of flyers. They got lots of neat things happening. Draw your attention to the Hillbilly Drag Race. I think they tried to have that last year and didn't get enough entrance. So I'm picturing some council people probably built something to put in that this year. So
I'll drive your mower.
okay. Anyway, appreciate your time.
Any other comments for the good of the order?
I just want to mention Memorial Day service that's always at Veterans Memorial Park. I know the park took a big hit with the tornado, but they're still planning on having the service. It'll be at 10 a.m. on Monday, the 26th for Memorial Day, and it's always a great service. A lot of community organizations present wreaths and do a great job of honoring our veterans. So just remember that one on your calendar.
Yep. Floyd, to your group, I saw you out there cleaning up and getting it all ready for the public. Thank you for that. Do you want to give an update on the process for the pavilions?
So we've been working with Glenn Gibson with the South Central Regional Veterans Group on each step of the process on how we restore the park. So step one that they ask us to do, which is kind of the easier one, but it's still time consuming, is working on the flags. 2 of the 3 flagpoles were bent. One of the pulleys also needs to be replaced. So we're working with a company that actually put that together initially to have ordered those, and we hope they'll be in sometime in the foreseeable future. That's Cardetti's. We're also working with HK Design out of, I think it's Cuba, relative to the metal art sign that was also twisted and destroyed in the wind. We also have a stonemason, and once they get that part of it fixed, then we'll have the stonemason actually work and reattach it. We actually had a conference call today on Zoom with the entity that provided the design and kit for the structure of the pavilion. Glenn and I and Darren took part in that, and so we're moving ahead with that. We actually have a proposal from them that will be coming back to council here in the near future on that. We've also asked them to design a similar effort for the smaller pavilion. So once we get that, we'll move ahead with issuing, barring your approval. Depending on your approval, then we'll also go out and seek bids from contractors on actually putting that together. Questions?
So just to make it clear, that all is covered by insurance as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was going to say, we are looking to beef up the wind resistance on them. They were
Yes.
rated at 95 miles an hour, we're going to go to 125. So there'll be some additional costs that the city will likely have to incur, but we'll try and run as much of that through the insurance as we can.
Thank you, Floyd.
And you could do
Thank
that
you.
for both of those, right?
Yeah.
Go
Pardon
to
me?
125 for both.
Yes. Thank you.
If there's no other comments for the good of the order, we have one item scheduled for closed session per revised Missouri statutes dealing with real estate. Actually, two items.
Jackson will make a motion to go to closed session.
Penn will second.
Roll call vote, please.
Who seconded?
Hunter.
There was a bunch.
Bulge,
Yes.
Hunter,
Yes.
Dickens,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Jackson,
Yes.
Hahn,
Yes.
McNevin,
Yes.
Pace,
Yes.
Shelby,
Yes.
Barron,
Yes.
Rolla.
Oh.